everybody. My name is Pastor John from the church on the Indian Reservation. And I just want to say that I pray that God give you all strength. I'm sure He has. I know He does. And I had a kind of a short time with Carlos. It was about under 2 years probably. And he was my co-pilot driving up to the reservation, the church, many Sundays. And he was fun to talk to. He tried to poke some buttons, push some buttons on me, but he was just trying to figure me out, and that's okay. But we had a lot of good times together, and Carlos was a giver. He was deep down inside. He knew about the power of God. He understood it. But Carlos had something that I think a lot of folks don't understand he had, but he had confidence. Not in the world, not in materialistic things, but he had confidence in death. He had confidence in death, and that's the lesson, the great lesson I think all of us saw in him. We see in him, and he loved God. I know he did because he told me he did. And he was a giver. I have something with me gave me, but it's huge to me. It might be little to some folks, but it's huge. It's a $2 bill. He had it in his wallet one day. He had like 3 of them, and he gave them away. And he said, Pastor John, these are some of the last ones I have. This was about 6 months ago. He says, I want you to keep that. It's for me. So I put it to the side, and I bring it here in memory of him. And it's not little to me, it is huge, but that's who Carlos was. He knew what would happen to him. He was very clear. He understood the power of God. He had told me he had lived a long life. He told me he was happy, and he was determined to just let God have his way. We visited many times at the hospital, Julie and I, and one of the first things I told him was, I love you, Carlos. And he would just kind of, kick around the sheets, and he would say this or that to the nurse, and we would just listen to him and tell him we loved him. He was going through stuff. He was hurting. He was stuff that we all have elders that we might help through the years, and these sort of things happen. And no one else knows the pain they're really dealing with down deep inside except for them and God. In the meanwhile, we're put here to just love them, period. Regardless of what people tell us, we just love them. We're not here to judge and condemn. We're just here to love them. And Carlos knew that. He knew that.
Thank you, Jesus.
He knew that we loved him. I want to say one other thing, and I'm going to put the mic down, is I thought I liked beans. I thought I was like the biggest lover of beans, but you know what? Carlos beat me. That guy could eat beans. We had fellowship every Sunday after church, and he would go, well, I can't have meat, and I can't have this or that, but he would cheat. But when we had beans, man, he was the first one. We would make sure he was being served first. And man, he loved them. Hey, Pastor John, I love these beans. And his head was down. He was going at it. But, we love Brother Carlos. To the Prado family, we love you. We're going to keep praying for you. And may God give you the strength. I'm glad that Carlos and I had time in life to cross, to laugh. We cried together. We held hands. We prayed. We laughed again, and we cried again. We cried coming down the hill. We cried going up the hill. And I remember one story when I picked him up at his home there where he lived. And he said, John, you got to open the door. You got to move the car over a little bit. So I moved the car over a little bit so we'd have plenty of room. And we'd open the door. I got to share the story. And he would sit there. He was trying to get in the seat. I go, Carlos, I can't. I'm gonna have to push your butt over. He goes, push my butt over so I can get in the seat. And so every time we'd pick him up, it was always something funny and memorable. But that's who Carlos was. He was a giver. I know where he's at today. He's with the Lord. He's healed 100%.
Amen.
So I think we should do one thing. Let me put this down. I think that we should all stand up. Everybody stand up. Everybody stand up. And just tell God, he graduated. Carlos graduated. So let's just thank God for that. Amen? Come on, everybody. Carlos has graduated. I think we should honor God for these things. So, amen. So while we here, we just keep working towards doing what God wants us to do. And one day you're going to graduate. Carlos just graduated before us. But I honor God for that. And I love you all. And God bless you all.